for another company. I wanted to build my experience, but then the idea for Keep hit me, actually. So it was, I remember on a long haul flight, I was, I think, flying to Asia to visit some friends in Singapore, and I remember doing what I call the aisle creep. So I walked up and down the aisle of the plane, and I looked to my left and my right, and I noticed that every single person that was awake at least was playing some type of a game on their phone. And then it kind of hit me. I had a bit of a moment. I was like,
I'm listening
God,
to
there's so many people on this one medium playing this one type of thing.
Right.
That must mean
some
there's a huge
do
advertising
it on
opportunity.
YouTube.
Yeah. Logic would say, right?
Startup.
And then so I started doing
I do
like
that same thing too, though. When I walk to the back, and what I do is
Maybe the
even,
audio makes it
you may
sound
do this
like
too. I count. This is my OCD. I count what they're doing.
Oh, wow.
Because I liked it when Virgin America, started doing Lingo.
Yeah.
I want to see how many people are like actually online versus watching a movie versus playing Angry Birds.
Exactly.
And it was always like 2/3, 3/4 movies and games, and like just like 10% will shoot the lock off their wallet for that $40 go-go service.
Exactly, right? So I think the funny thing was that observation for me led me to think that, listen, advertising must be so big in mobile gaming. I mean, because there's so many people on it.
Right.
But what I found out
What do you know about advertising exactly at that point?
Very little. Like, practically nothing. Because I had studied...
But you knew publishers.
I did. I studied marketing in college as well. So I did have a formal education in it. But again, practical-wise, it's totally different, right?
Sure.
So I ended up sort of doing some digging, and I realized that, wow, banner advertising is still predominant in mobile, and it's these tiny little things, and they're annoying, and they suck, right? And I didn't want to blame anybody, because again, like, I think it was just people taking what they were used to from the web and just going, okay, the only thing that I can see that's changed is the screen is smaller, so let's just make it tinier. And I was like, but that can't be the end goal, because if nobody likes it, how could it be effective, right? So how do we do it so that let's say we lived in an alternate universe where display never existed. What could advertising be? That was the question.
Yeah, starting from zero.
Exactly. And we looked at every game that we could find, and I found that there was this universal characteristic, and it was the achievement moment. And this was when you level up and get a high score. And that was my epiphany. That was my moment. And I was like, wow, hold on a second. There's so many of these moments already happening around us. So just people on phones and playing games that are already downloaded in the tens of millions. There must be all of these moments of happiness, these dopamine rushes.
Right.
And what can we do with these moments? Rather than abusing them and putting ads and weird stuff, let's actually acknowledge what people have done. Let's reward them.
Right.
And so the idea was born. Rewards for these moments of achievement within games. And the funny thing is, at the time I was reading a book called Predictably Irrational.
Sure.
And for those who haven't read it, you should totally read it. And it actually inspired me to make the rewards serendipitous. So,
and what was it about the book? I mean, what's the thesis of the book? Tell people who haven't read it.
It's behavioral economics, and it's sort of a 101, very basic 101 on the fact that rational thinking for consumers around Adam Smith's invisible hand really doesn't apply some cases. Like buying an LV bag is a perfect example of this. The bag has utility, but you are buying it for the brand, and there's something about it that's beyond just the fact that it can carry stuff, right? So it's Dan, the author, Dan Ariely, looks at specific concepts around where things are actually irrational in some cases. And in the case of what we wanted to do, when you look at the reward, yes, we could say, if you do this, you get that, but that's just driving people to do something that they don't actually want to do.
Right.
But my inspiration was, let's let people play the game because they want to, and surprise them, actually make it a surprise and delight, make it a serendipitous
So you
reward.
come up with this idea.
Yes.
And how do you manifest it in a business, in a company, and how do you take yourself from just a BD kid who's been laid off and mom is incredibly disappointed in you, which, by the way, explains a lot. The fact that her first reaction when you come home was this is the worst Mother's Day ever. Now I know why you're an overachiever. Mom is withholding her love and manipulating you to success. I'm taking a note as a dad. When my daughter comes home and she has bad news, I'm just going to be like, this has destroyed me. And then she'll never want to come home with bad news. I mean, now you're going to kill yourself over this.
No, I think it was a good impetus, but it was really, I think
She might be a closeted tiger.
Maybe. The idea was very, almost like, it would stick in my head It was one of those things that you would have, and you just couldn't go to bed. You would just continue working. And so the magic that helped it get started was, so I actually learned how to design when I was very young. I took my own tutorials on Photoshop, and I pirated Photoshop, which everybody does when they're younger, and learned how to design. The first thing I did when I got this idea was I canvassed it. I put it on Photoshop. I made what I thought a reward unit should look like, and I kind of made a mock-up, and I made it semi-functional. So I used the very little knowledge I had in HTML, and I coded up like a very basic working version of it.
On your phone.
On my phone.
Click it and you can show a VC or an angel like, hey, check out this idea.
Bingo. So I did that.
Picture's worth 1,000 words.
100%. Didn't have a business plan, whatever. But the concept, when you think about it, when people hear about it, the first reaction is typically, why hasn't anybody done this already, right?
Yeah, that's what you know you got to go with.
Exactly. So I had a lot of those reactions, and I knew that I was onto something. And so the company started with that, and the funny thing is 3 years later, the idea actually hasn't changed. It hasn't changed at all, and it's just grown in scope, but more on that a bit. But the whole thing is, when we started, I actually bumped into some venture capitalists. One of them actually happened to be Adam Doggelli from True Ventures. And Adam and I had coffee. He saw the idea. I ended up pitching the partners. And again, like, this was not designed to raise any money at all. I had no idea what that process was like. I was very naive about it. And True happens to be one of the most founder-friendly VCs on the planet. And that actually was a lucky strike for me, and allowed me to actually start with a great VC and actually have a sort of a validation factor that allowed us to start going out there and talking about it.
So they just said, hey, we backed this idea?
Yeah, the original term sheet was for about $300,000.
So he says, hey, we'll back you to make a mock-up. We'll back you to make the minimal viable product, basically?
Yeah, and bring on, my co-founders came on, Courtney and Amadeus. I actually worked with Courtney at Dig, and Amadeus was at an agency called Sequence. Courtney and Amadeus were very good friends. We all teamed up. We decided to build this thing. And, we set a milestone. We said, let's have 10 brands and 10 games, because we don't make any of our own games. We wanted to build an SDK that fits on all the other games, leverages those moments, those traffic that exists already.
No reason for you to build games or do the game.
Why would we? Because again, people are already doing it, right? And why not just take what people are doing already, like tap into existing patterns of behavior. But then also have brands that would be willing to essentially pay to give away things. And that was the original hump that we had to overcome. And you would imagine me walking up and down Madison Avenue and asking brands like, hey, we have this great idea. You basically just give away things, right, in these moments of achievement. But you pay us to do it. Yeah. and again, but that's not so much different than the promotions industry. So in many ways, we had to draw corollaries. And people ended up realizing that there wasn't too much of a difference. And we did launch with 15 brands and 15 games. And so we kind of blew our metrics that we originally had as milestones.
What's an example? Give me an example of a game and a brand.
So you could just level up and potentially get a free pack of Sour Patch Kids.
Okay, so Sour Patch Kids was an actual brand?
Actually, it's right now with Mona Lisa, exactly.
Yeah, and with what game?
It's any game in our network, right?
So what are the games in the network?
So there's games like Unblock Me, there's games like Robot Unicorn Attack, there's games like Into the Dead, Mega Jump, you name it. Yeah. So there's 1,000 apps in our network now.
So you have 1,000 apps.
Yes.
And when people level up, there's a chance, but not a guarantee, that they could get a coupon for something cool like candy.
Yes, but it ranges now because we've diversified. So the way the business has evolved over the last few years is it's very fascinating, because it was more around, the DNA of the idea was all about gaming. And that has that formed the idea. It helped us understand the moment of achievement and really what that meant.
Yeah.
But how it grew over the last few years was fascinating. So we actually ended up realizing that moments exist in any app category. So games was really the beginning, but think about fitness. So you can log a run, count your calories. These are actual moments. Like, these are moments of achievement. And then you think about productivity, my personal favorite. You finish a to-do list. Right? That's definitely an achievement moment. And you think even in food and recipes, so like bookmarking a recipe or even submitting a recipe is very not my demographic. I haven't touched my stove in a year, but that's
for those people,
that's a very exactly. So we said, okay, how do we own all of these moments? We've now expanded to those categories. And the whole point is brands come in and they say we want to own certain moments. So Propel is a brand we work with from Pepsi. They don't work with games. They work with all the fitness apps in our network. And so they buy by the vertical. They buy by the type of moment.
How do they pay? Do they pay by CPM or do they pay by moment?
So this is the learning process that we had too. It's a great question.
Cost per moment, CPM.
Yeah, well,
PPM.
is that if you invent a metric in advertising, and you've probably seen this happen quite a bit in the industry, it doesn't really fly that easily in the beginning. You get a lot of pushback because there's a lot of fixed sort of processes that let people buy certain ways with IOs and RFPs and all that stuff. So we ended up using a CPE, cost per engagement, and that's when...
And that existed already.
That exists, exactly. So Say Media actually kind of invented this metric a few years ago, and it became a fixture in how media buyers buy.
And what is it? Explain it, because we have some people listening to the program who are young entrepreneurs like yourself, or entrepreneurs who have accessibility. What is a CPE?
Cost per engagement.
And what is an engagement in that acronym?
That's funny, because in different types of mediums, it means different things. So in a video, an engagement is when someone watches it, right? Or opens it, right? In our case, it's when someone claims a reward. So in our flow, you have to put in an email address to claim the reward. Now, again, we don't share the email with the brand or the developers, just to send you the reward, right? So it's more of a mechanism to not kick you out in the actual app or game, because typically you'll see in mobile advertising, you tap on something, it throws you out, you're like, why am I being thrown out? In our case, we say, put in your email, and you can address it whenever you want. It'll be in your inbox, it's safe and sound there.
Like a Groupon.
You keep on playing, do whatever you were doing, and now it's sitting in your inbox, so you can keep it.
And we're not going to give your email to the marketer.
And that's the number one thing that we set as a rule, because Keep, in many ways, is a consumer brand.
Right.
So all of our rewards, people actually see Keep. The funny thing is, you'll never hear, and I characterize it this way, you'll never hear a consumer go, oh my God, I love AdMob, I love millennial media, so iAds completes me.
Right.
But they do say that they love Keep, and we've always wanted to build a consumer brand that people actually appreciate and know that we're accountable to our brand, that these rewards aren't something to scam you into something, it isn't to catch your email address, it's none of that.
It's not like the ones that, remember Scamville, there was like expose,
absolutely not.
TechCrunch, where it's like fill out what was it, like a 3-month trial to Netflix or a survey.
So we avoid trials, we avoid free subscriptions, we avoid things that just appear sketchy. And the other way we avoid it is we only primarily work with top-tier consumer brands, right? So that's a big deal. So brands are like Best Buy, Coke, Pepsi, Mondelez, which used to be Kraft, you name it. Like these guys, we want to make sure we bring on the top-tier consumers.
When we get back from commercial break, I want you to explain to me how a 22-year-old builds a company of 45 people, the majority of which are older than you. I'm guessing. Is that right?
Yeah, they
are. Majority are. And then and how do you command respect in that regard? Because I spent a part of my career when I was younger I was 25 or 24 when I started my first company. People thought I was a genius. Far from it compared to yourself. But I did have 2/3 of the people who worked for me were older.
Yes.
So I want to get into that a little bit when we get back from this commercial break. Stick with us. Hey everybody, what a great episode this has been, and check out this beautiful website for this great event, Future Stack by New Relic. It's going to be happening in San Francisco on October 24th and 25th, and it's all about tomorrow, the what ifs, the why nots, where are we going next, reimagining the future of the entire software industry. They got the Vice President of Azure from Microsoft, the CTO of Rackspace, and New Relic's very own coding CEO, Luke Ryan. And it's going to be an amazing event. Cake is doing the kickoff party. Wow, I love the band Cake. So head over to futurestack.io and register right now. Use the promo code TWIST, TWIST, and get 25% off. It's going to be a great event at the Grand Hyatt San Francisco, October 24th and 25th. New Relic presents Future Stack. And again, use the promo code TWIST, and you will get 25%. And of course, you all know New Relic for doing monitoring of your website and your app's performance. Everybody's using this product, tons of people, including myself. I get weekly reports from them to see how the launch ticker is doing on performance, and I really like it. I was actually looking at it this morning, and I'm very pleased to see we had no downtime and the site was very responsive. That's not like that every week, but most weeks. And if you go to newrelic.com/twist, you can create a free account and get this free This Week in Startups t-shirt, which is absolutely gorgeous, designed by one of our super fans. So go ahead and go to newrelic.com/twist to get the t-shirt, and check out futurestack.io. Futurestack.io. I'm going to be going, so I'll see you all there. I'll see you all at futurestack.io. Let's get back to this program. All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm here with Brian Wong, who is the CEO and founder of Keep. That's KIIP.me. He's raised $15 million to make a rewards program for video games and other apps, mobile apps, where, hey, you finish your run or your to-do list, you might get a Gatorade or a Sour Patch Kids or, I don't know, Nike, coupon for Nikes or something.
Yes.
Who knows? So anyway, here's a look at, what are we looking at here in this video? I'll play the video. What's that all about?
So this is the wallet that we launched last year for people to actually compile their rewards. But we actually here have Kevin, and you can see that someone's playing a game online and they got a reward for a free pack of Skittles. So the whole idea is, how do you take what people are going to do already in their natural environment and reward them for it in a serendipitous way?
So what's the most successful reward you've done? I mean, don't tell me the name of it because I want you to get into the actual deals. What's the biggest ad spend and the most number of rewards that were given, and then how many were claimed?
Yeah, so we go by performance. So every time someone engages with the rewards, that's the reward given away, and that's when the brand pays. So
you don't have to actually have somebody redeem the Skittles. The fact that they
have claimed it.
They claimed it is enough.
Exactly. That's enough.
Which makes sense.
Well, yeah, because